库恩与中国的缘分始于上世纪80年代末。1989年1月，已经是美国知名神经科学家和投资银行家的库恩，首次受邀来华指导科研机构融入市场经济的相关事宜。库恩坦言，那个时候的他对中国了解甚少，但自从来到改革开放初见成效的中国，他就意识到，中国的发展将会对整个世界产生十分重要的影响。在此后的30年间，库恩多次往返于美中两国，亲眼目睹并经历了当代中国发展的许多重要时刻。
Dr. Kuhn, you are known as somebody who truly understands China. Tell us about some of the specific things in China over the past few decades, other than poverty alleviation, that really impressed you.
It's been a wonderful learning experience to have the opportunity to witness firsthand the changes in China. I first came to China in January of 1989, and I was invited by, at that time, the State Science and Technology Commission. So I began working with China through its science, the science side. I've been asked, what's the greatest thing you've seen in China? And the obvious answer is the growth of the economy. So I like to be a contrarian and say the growth of the economy is the second most important thing. And so what's the most important thing? The most important thing is the changing spirit of the people, the confidence of making the achievements, and then the recognition of what the future is. The last few years, because of various international tensions, has been troubling to me, but the attitudes and the vision and the excitement of the Chinese people has been what I have kind of resonated with and appreciate. And that has been the reason I think that I was drawn to China, because of the making so many friends and seeing so many people, real people in this environment. I had that kind of experience, and it was really not until the poverty alleviation campaign, where I spent many years focusing on poverty alleviation, that I really began to see the whole story of China.
And how do you view the 100-year history of the Communist Party of China leading the Chinese people to achieve rejuvenation?
So the transformation of China, I call it the largest population on earth undergoing the greatest transformation in history, and that has been led by the Communist Party of China. All the benefits that the party leadership has given are incredibly obvious. Poverty alleviation being close to the top of the list, and the vast improvement in the lives of the Chinese people is a case that historians 1,000 years from now would be looking at to study, because it's so significant. But the party has a higher obligation to do certain things for its citizens in terms of reform, transparency, involving the people in the process of governance, what we call whole process people's democracy. That's a whole other subject that China is focusing on. President Xi has put forth 6 aspirational adjectives for what the great rejuvenation of China will be by roughly mid-century. And those are prosperous as number 1, strong, number 2. Number 3 is democratic, and then culturally advanced, harmonious, and beautiful.
And you mentioned the process of democracy in China. You once said in your book, Dr. Kuhn, observing the development of democracy in China is fascinating, even astonishing. What do you think are the differences and similarities between China's whole process people's democracy, which you just mentioned, and Western democracy?
Well, the obvious difference is that Western democracy is defined in a more limited fashion, because we see the patina of democracy many places in the world where there are votes, and everybody on the planet knows those are phony, that those are manipulated or misreported or coerced. Everybody knows that. So it's not a simple statement to say that you have to have that means democracy, because those are shams. We have an example of that, in my opinion, in Ukraine right now. a so-called referendum. To say the Western system, works everywhere is obviously false. I mean, I don't want to name countries, but there are many countries would take more than both of my hands to list them, where they have elections which are, shall we say, significantly suspect. Now, when I just start to describe what China's democracy is, I start with the fact that of China's 6 aspirational adjectives for where it wants to be at its full modernized social society, one of those is democratic. So to begin, China is saying that to have a society that can be labeled democratic is our aspirational goal. So that's the first step. And China has been very inventive in coming up with real ways in which democracy can be worked. Democracy being defined as the people being involved in the process of governance. This has been expressed in many different forms. The obvious forms are when laws are proposed by the National People's Congress or by local congresses. They are exposed and they are ahead of time announced, and people can have all sorts of feedback on those laws, and they're taken seriously. Senior leadership, particularly under President Xi, is making officials accountable to the people and making the people's congresses responsible for bringing public opinion